Hey everyone, it's Gal Gorin, your 2019-2020 UGA Shinshin. It's been a while since I saw you all and I miss you so much. And last year was awesome. I had the best time with you. So what have I done since I got back to Israel?
Flying immediately to Israel, having a 14-day self-quarantine in my room, finally rejoining my family and friends, having the best time with you online, doing some sports and some hobbies, hiking in the fields that are next to my house, coloring my hair, what was I thinking? Even meeting up with Alona, and making the best out of this time.
Tonight, we're all going to light the second candle of Hanukkah. And even in this strange time, we're all connected together, celebrating this holiday.
I know you're familiar with the wonderful Maccabim story by heart, the battle of the brave Jewish minority who continued practicing Judaism despite the orders of the Greek rulers. Hanukkah is about courage, sacrifice, the power of faith, the victory of a minority against all odds. I believe the most important part of this story is the heroes, the Maccabim.
I would like to discuss some other heroes with you. Those heroes may not have a holiday named after them, but they do mean a lot to Israel and especially for me. These heroes are all former pilots in the Israeli Air Force who contributed so much to Israel's security and dedicated their life in order to protect our beloved homeland.
The Israeli Air Force is a way of life in my family. I come from a long line of pilots. My father, my 2 grandfathers, and 6 uncles were pilots in the army, and the rest of the family also served in the Israeli Air Force. I grew up fascinated by those planes, going with my dad to his bases, entering to the plane's cockpit, knowing the physics of this incredible machine, what buttons can I touch and what I should not at all. I knew the base like home, heard all the family legacy of the Israeli Air Force, knew the other pilots and their kids, hearing in my ears the roars of the great plane's engine, feeling in my soul the spirit of the IDF, and seeing in my eyes my father crossing the sky. My grandfather Ran Goen was born in March 1942 in the northern city of Afula. He grew up in Kibbutz Merchavia. When Ran was 18, he became a pilot in the Israeli Air Force. Since then, he has dedicated his life to Israel's security and defense. He took part in many difficult operations and wars throughout Israel's history, such as the Six-Day War, the War of Attrition, the Yom Kippur War, and the Lebanon War. Most will say that Yom Kippur War was the hardest and most painful war Israel ever knew. It started during Yom Kippur, during the fast, and it caught Israel not ready. During this war, my grandfather's plane got hit in the sky over Lebanon. He managed to maneuver under the braking pressure and flew the damaged plane all the way back to Israel against all odds. However, Ran had to abandon the plane mid-air and parachute over the Kinneret. Even after that experience, Ran returned immediately to fight as a pilot in the war in order to continue protecting Israel. He developed a remarkable career in the Air Force and even became a Major General in the IDF. My other grandfather, Gideon Dror, was born in December 1941 in Afula as well. He grew up in a town called Kiryat Ivon, which is located next to Haifa, where Alona comes from. Gideon knew from a young age that his dream was to be a pilot in the Israeli Air Force, and when he turned 18, he passed all the pilot courses and fulfilled his dream. Gideon served as a pilot in the Air Force for many years, and during the 6 Days War, Gideon engaged in a secret operation to attack a military airport in Iraq. During this mission, his plane was attacked, and he had to land in an enemy territory, where he was subsequently captured and held hostage by the Iraqi army. During his capture, Gideon didn't know how Israel would rescue him. One morning, a normal-looking Iraqi soldier came to clean around. He made sure that he was alone with my grandfather and came suspiciously to him for 1 second. Then he quietly whispered to Gideon just one word, "Shalom," and vanished. Gideon understood at that moment that Israel was trying to rescue him and that this soldier was probably a secret agent that made sure that he was alive and well. I can't imagine what it's like to be 2 weeks in hostage in Iraq, but I know that my grandfather is a strong person and I appreciate him so much. Gideon returned to Israel and continued his career as a pilot in the Air Force. Later on, he became an El Al pilot for 40 years. During this time, he flew all over the world, dealing with several risks and problems in the air and solving them wisely, including an emergency landing in the famous Coast Road of Israel. My father was a pilot too, an extraordinary one, who also has dedicated his life to protecting Israel. His dream came true when he was 18 years old and became a pilot on the F-16 plane. He participated in many operations over 25 years, including the Second Lebanon War. My dad is currently a pilot in El Al and has traveled around the world for many years. Both of my grandparents and my father are heroes and role models to me. They dedicated their lives in order to protect Israel from serious dangers. There was some criticism against Israel's pilots several years ago. One journalist claimed that the pilots who protect our country are immoral, cruel, and heartless. He believed that they just sit there in their plane, press buttons and move joysticks, gaming the war. The journalist claimed that they are anything but moral, acting like robots who bomb from the sky and do not deserve all the admiration they get. When I first read his article, I felt hurt. I felt like my family's story was humiliated. Those heroes I admire, my grandparents, my father, are anything but immoral robots. They dedicated their whole lives in order to protect their country. They put themselves in danger in order for us to have a country. Our pilots and Air Force are the most moral in the world. The IDF always avoids attacks if there is a slight chance that innocent people could get hurt. They aspire to peace and protect us when needed. They carry the future of Israel on their own shoulders by defending our soldiers from the air while risking themselves by flying. The pilots keep Israel safe, and without them, Israel would be in a serious danger. They are brave, smart, and they are remarkably stay calm in such stressful and risky situations. This is the Israeli Defense Force. This is who we are. A defense force. A defense Air Force. Braveness, intelligence, creativity, working under pressure, peace, morality, protecting our home, protecting your homeland, protecting the innocents, and supporting peace. This is who we are, a defense force. I hope you now understand a little bit more about my family and about my personal heroes. Tonight, we're going to light the second candle of Hanukkah. It's going to be a different experience than in recent years. Of course, we cannot gather in person, but we are, thankfully, able to connect virtually with one another. In these challenging times, I want to ask all of you, while lighting your Chanukiah, to dedicate a moment of gratitude for your own heroes. It can be the Maccabim, who fought for their Jewish identity. It can be for the healthcare workers in the front lines dealing with COVID-19. It can be our brave firefighters. It can be our beloved teachers, parents, brothers, sisters, and grandparents. It could be anyone you appreciate and feel grateful for. Take that moment to think about your own heroes. Soon, I will be enlisting in the IDF, but unlike the rest of my family, I will not be a pilot. I have another dream in mind. And I am working hard to join the medical corps of the Israel Defense Forces. I look forward to hopefully sharing the exciting news in the coming months.
I hope that every time you'll think about the IDF or the Air Force, you'll think about my heroes and remember the people who defend Israel for all of us every day. To the most amazing community in the world, I want to wish you Chag Chanukah Sameach, and I want to ask from you to please cherish and appreciate your heroes during Chanukah, and each and every one of them. Stay safe, stay healthy, wear a mask, sending lots of love from Israel. Miss you so much. Keep in touch. תודה רבה.